Alrighty then, today I'm rolling my sleeves up. This one's going to be a bit of a rant about overweight spiritual teachers and gurus. What are they actually doing, and is it good for you? Well, fantastic, people, anyone who's helping and, preaching an inspiring message is beautiful, and that's wonderful. It's going to help. What are they actually doing though? Let's have a look on a biochemical level and, all the levels that I can understand and perceive. So, for a start, if someone's preaching love, they need love. Easy, right? We all need love and acceptance. It's wonderful. But let's look on the subconscious level in the body. What is love? It's essentially the person needs oxygenated blood through their body. Overweight, and when I say overweight, they're just full of gunk, like massive amounts of gunk, like ridiculous amounts of gunk. Like after, about 5 years now of detoxing and purification, I've removed over 60 meters of mucus plaque and the associated critters and parasites and things that are in renal area, so kidneys and urinary tract alone. Over 60 meters, and we'll see how much is there. I don't even know. So, anyone who's of a sizable ratio, then it's going to have inevitably hundreds of meters, possibly kilometers of mucus plaque, critters, and associated gunk. These things have a significant effect on the subconscious mind, controlling it. Yeah, that's the thing that we have. People project that UFOs and reptilians are controlling politicians and bankers and all these different... anyone in power that people think is bigger than them and more powerful than them, they'll project their shit onto. It's how the subconscious works. It's yin and yang, right? So, apply that to overweight spiritual teachers and gurus, who obviously, let's face it, if you can't drink enough water during the day, and master something as simple as that, which every animal on the planet can do, not every human can do, how can they be trusted to guide our souls? I have questions. I have many questions. I have many questions. And I've got the answers to them, and they're not pretty. They're not beneficial to these type of people. So, how can a spiritual teacher or guru not know how to drink enough water, not know how to clear their chakras on a daily basis? In Ayurveda, we call them the daily rituals. Clearing the nose, clearing the exocrine glands, which are the balancing aspect of the endocrine glands or chakras. Simple, right? When you know. But the key is, to know these things, you have to learn and study, and you have to have higher brain function. Higher brain function. So these spiritual teachers and gurus obviously think that they are on the crown. That's because they're suffering from something in the nutritional balancing program we call yin disease. Yes, when you're so massive, so many heavy metals in there, so many critters, so much mucus plaque, that's why people can't move, or they're biochemically controlled not to be able to move. They can't master movement. Come on, really. Like, shake your butt. Yeah, it's fun. And how is, with all of this yin, so what they're actually doing within these different spiritual ceremonies and rituals that we like to attend to and things, people say they're reading energy, yes, and they are. Because they're so massively yin that they're drawing that energy in, they can feel that, but what are they giving you in return? It's not pretty. They're giving you all of their gunk. Subconsciously, all of this, and heavy metals are the ones that are responsible for the guilt and the shame and the heavy emotions and the dark depths that are not pretty at all. And of course, that also represents the social programming and social control that we think that we have, and we are, but it's just heavily laden in the nervous system. So when someone is so huge, and especially when they're preaching love and acceptance because they need it, and hey, it's good. Do they have higher brain function, or is their body in such a decrepit state, and I mean none of their bodily systems are working at least 20%. I'm being generous here. They've got some blood flow to keep them alive and some brain function. So their body has gone and retreated to the 2 points that you actually need to survive, the heart and the brain, and that's all they've got that are working well. And they feel expanded. Of course they feel expanded. Why? Because their nervous system and their veins and all of the electrodes and electricity that's going around is out here. But when it comes back, what is it giving you? It's giving the messages through the lymphatic system, because that's on the outside of the body generally, and the circulation, because it's the only two systems that are working. Not even. The lymphatic system is absolutely filthy. I mean disgusting. I mean holding on to their stuff for 20 to 50 years. How can anybody have a purified soul that are holding on to their shit for 20 to 50 years? And they cannot get rid of their stuff on a daily basis to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Their soul is getting worse on a daily basis. How can we trust these people with our souls and our development and to inspire us? Sure, you can make pretty fancy words. What are you transmitting subconsciously? Because if you go and have a look at the ancient Egyptian symbolism and any symbolism from the past, the spiritual teachers and leaders are the ones that had those elongated heads. That symbolizes they had higher brain function. Because if you haven't raised your Kundalini, then first of all, you haven't started on this path, to tell you the truth. You've got a lot of work to do, and most people are deluded. I call it having a Joseph and his amazing technicolor Dreamcoat of delusion. Yeah, because if you've got all of this gunk getting in the way of where your actually soul is, and your soul is all the way in the biofilms in the body, which is quite in-depth. It's in the mucous membrane lining in the body. On top of that, generally people have got heavy metals, gunk, and then they'll have mucus plaque, then they'll have fungus, and a lot of bile, as well as solid fecal matter. So the average person has about 5 kilos of solid fecal matter in their intestines alone, and if the person has that, then their organs cannot push things through and get them out of the way. So therefore they have to be emotionally retarded. They're emotionally slow because their organs can't work to get gunk out. Add these layers and layers and layers and layers onto big people, and they're calling themselves spiritual teachers and gurus. Come on. Have we lost our own brain function? Are we so mentally inert from our decrepit society that we switch off our brain and stop thinking when this is the time that we need to, when we're looking for a guide, someone to share and love with us? And first of all, what is a guide? A guide is someone who stands there, holds your hand, walks along the path with you because they've walked the path before. That's what a guru means. Sensei, all of the Asian martial arts will all have a similar meaning. It means essentially guide. They have to have walked the path before, so they have to have higher brain function. Those people with the higher brain function, with the elongated heads, they live for a significant amount of time. They ruled for a long period because their bodies were working well, because they have higher brain function to do the things that are perfectly in harmony with their body. Their subconscious mind, which connects to the universe on the bigger scale. So if you can't master your own universe, how can you master the universe outside of you? It's simply not possible, is it? Really, let's start thinking about this a little bit. What else have I got? That's a fair amount. If I haven't made a solid case already, feel free to take it apart. I'll put some information down there to show you what's biochemically going on in their bodies. And they believe it wholeheartedly. Why? Because they have to do this to survive. They've only got a heart and a head and part of a brain that's maybe at maximum 10% brain function divided by 7 emotional centers called the chakras. Therefore, the perception can only be a maximum of 1.5% if you've got one chakra fulfilled. They haven't got any of them. They haven't got base chakra number 1 fulfilled. They haven't got the heart fulfilled. That's why they're preaching love and acceptance. They need it. Love is 500 on the consciousness scale. Enlightenment's 700. it goes up to 1,000. If a person isn't preaching, or if a teacher or a guide isn't preaching merging with creation, they cannot perceive that as a possibility for them. That's there's bigger goal as I can perceive. There's probably bigger. If there is, please tell me. Open mind. How can someone preaching love at 500 when each point is to the power of 10, another 500 to the power of 10 to merge with creation? That is a massive cultural belief and limiting self-belief that they're portraying and putting onto you. Why? Because they need to survive. I'll also explain a little bit about parasites and how they affect the nervous system. So if a person is stagnant, have a look in Mother Nature. Anything that is stagnant, what will it do? It will grow mold, fungus, critters, all sorts of gunk on top of it. You know, you see it. Drop a load. You know, download a poo into Mother Nature, watch the stuff that grows on it. If it's inside and it's heated and it's not moving, the same thing happens. It grows and grows and grows. And then that one issue or that one emotional controller or a parasite is therefore got so many layers and barriers above it that the person will never actually get to that issue and fix it and clean it and purify it. So then they'll have higher brain function to survive and thrive. What is actually going on in the nervous system? Well, that's a fascinating one. Because if it's dense, heavy metals, and let's have a look at the body. Okay, so higher brain function, we need lots of oxygenated blood and omega-3s and fats for this to function properly and optimally. What happens if a person has a lot of stored energy in the bottom half of the body? High vibration, low vibration, lowest vibration in the body. If they've got a lot of stored energy here around the hips and below, they've got a bucket load of heavy metals and so much gunk and critters and gout and fungal infections. And then not even to the gut. If the gut is big, there is so much bloating from fungal infections and critters and gunk. So, how can that be a high vibrational person? It's simply not possible. If you can explain that to me without emotional charge, with higher brain function, because very few people have got that, so that rules out virtually everybody, please let me know. I'm willing to and open for suggestions and more information. Nervous system. Anytime there's a nervous system junction or short circuit, so say I'm trying to get a message from brain to wrist. My wrist needs to move. It's a little bit sore. What happens if there's a parasite right here in the forearm? And it's going to have a controlling effect on my nervous system. So it's going to have a bit of a loop. So we're going to go around here and then try to get to that message. But that parasite has its own wants and needs. It doesn't want to get the message there. It wants the blockage to create a blockage, to create a home and a space where you don't feel what's going on in your body, because very few people do, because then they can create a whole food source and feed off the blood and feed off the energy in the nervous system, because you can't feel these parts. So it's got control over this whole section. Yeah, it's scary, I know. And I'm talking to you, you know, if you have some sort of reaction to that, that means there's a parasite in your body in a particular location, because I'm directly addressing it. Yeah, it's amazing in conversation and social interactions. You can see it now after I've removed so many of them. So, if that nervous system message and that brain capacity is not getting there, it's going to cut off. Simple, it's gone. In concern to the nervous system, it's gone. You can't feel it, because there's no conductivity, there's no conductor, there's no finished or end to the circuit. It's been stopped. So then, of course, if it goes a different path, it's like going from, if you want to go from Sydney to Cairns, it's a long way, but that path is, you get to Central and you go in Sydney. Oh, we'll go to Newcastle, it's 2 hours north. Oh, now we'll just go to the beach. Like, so if we're over in Newcastle Beach, but Cairns is all the way, 2,000 kilometres away, how can this be the right path when the destination was up there? It can't, because the critters in the nervous system are controlling our thoughts. How? And quite often the frequency and the heavy metals are the biggest factor in these things. And if these people have got a density and they're huge and they're heavy, they've got a significant amount of social programming that they have to get through. Generally down to, and you need kidney function, you need to sweat to be able to do that. Big? Not possible. It's simply not possible. So, in their nervous system, what they actually need, they've got so many critters and so many heavy metals that they need a whole lot of people around them to feed their energy. What is energy? It's essentially electrical conductivity, electricity in between the cells for ATP energy. They're feeding off people because they need to do this to survive. It's a survival mechanism for these parasites. And there are an abundant amounts of them. I can only imagine what is in these people's bodies. It's freaking filthy. It's absolutely disgusting, to tell you the truth. But you have to detox to find that out, really. So, I would be suggesting that we be careful with who we energize and what we energize, even if it's a love and accepting message that we all need. My suggestion is, I'm a big, huge fan of Ketut Asana in Ubud in Bali. He's a yogi, he is fit, he's funny, he's a proper yogi, he's looking sensational. And also Bentinho Massaro. He is an absolute sensation from a fifth dimension. These are people who are purified, they understand diet, they understand exercise, yoga practices, and all of these things to work in harmony with your body. Because the real key to this path is cellular rejuvenation. To rejuvenate our cells to have a higher vibration with a higher ATP energy, because that's the below part of the above, and the above is our spirituality. But we have to go deep within to be able to find that. So, feel free to let me know how you go with that one. It'll definitely trigger a number of people, I'm sure. And so, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? So, purified body, purified bodily temple has always been the way to cross consciousness. And let's face it, if someone is still coming from their emotional centers with a maximum of 10% brain capacity, there's a whole lot of 90% more available in the neofrontal cortex. But the only way to do that is to rejuvenate the cells, to have enough oxygenated blood flow to be able to get it up there to power it. You need the electrical source, as for every circuit in the body. And everything you need a circuit to get to that end point. And you need enough power to do it. Do these supposed spiritual teachers and gurus have that power, or are they destroying it from you? Question.